this week's episode of the Ellusionist.com Magic Beyond Belief podcast, we have a very special guest all the way from the UK. We have Team E's very own Geraint Clarke. On this week's episode, we're going to talk to Geraint about what got him interested in magic in the first place, way back when, and some creative thoughts and tips that you can use right away with your own magic. And on next week's episode, we'll go into more about Geraint's talk about creativity, how you can be more creative, and that one thing that you may or may not know about Geraint. So, on this week's episode, we're going to kick things off with part number 1, getting to know Geraint Clarke. All right, boys, now we are going to have a chat with Team E's very own Geraint Clarke. He's over in the UK on the other side of the pond, as we like to say. Jay, what's shaking, buddy?
Hey, Dancy, what's going on?
Oh, man, another day in paradise out here in Vegas, just working away for E, as I do most days here during the week. And you and I talk, I would say, just about every day now, too, yeah?
Pretty much, yeah. Usually I'm jealous of you over there in Vegas, but today it's not raining in Wales, so I'm happy.
Well, today we are going to be talking to you about, some of the things that, your history in magic. I'd like to try to have our audience get to know you guys a little bit. I'll be talking to a few of the different guys here from time to time that are on Team E. And I want to get to know you, because as a magician, we all have a different story. We have different stories on how we got into this stuff, what interests us as the type of magic that we're interested in, and things like that. So let's start off as generic as we can. And what got you interested in magic in the first place? What's your story?
Okay, so probably about... this is well documented. I've said it a sort of few times before, but Dynamo actually, in the early days, he had a TV show on MTV Base, which is like a subsidiary of MTV that purely played like hip-hop music. And he had small, like 2-minute segments in advert breaks, in commercial breaks.
Cool.
So I was sort of flicking through channels, looking to sort of watch something, and then I saw this guy doing a civil cut, which at the time I had no idea what it was. It was mesmerizing. I thought, how on earth is he doing that? And he was performing for Wyclef Jean,
nice.
Who actually got up, freaked out, started jumping over sofas in this club. And I thought, wow, like that might be the best sort of magic that at that point I'd been exposed to ever. So everyone had a magic kit as a kid.
Yeah.
And we sort of bypassed that. We grew out of that small sort of nails through coin illusion.
That's one of your favorites, though, from what I hear.
Every strolling gig? No, I'm joking. No. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, the next day I had a job interview. I was 15 at the time, and it was a job interview for a retail clothes outlet here in the UK called Burton Menswear. And I was 40 minutes early because they say the early bird catches the worm. So I decided to go into a bookshop, waste some time, and in there was Nicholas Einhorn's book, The Practical Encyclopedia of Magic.
Oh, right on. Cool.
Which, at the time, it sort of brought back the memories of what I'd seen the night before with Dynamo, and it was £4, which it's probably about $7. It's really cheap. So I decided to buy it. I went to a coffee shop and I learnt the back palm with a Starbucks gift card.
Nice.
Which sort of took me about 3 or 4 minutes. And then, crossed the road. And under the pressure of the interview, when I was 15 years old, it got to the point in the interview where he said, "Do you have any hobbies or interests?" And I just said magic. And he said, "Show me something." So I made his business card vanish with the back palm.
Nice.
And then I had to carry on that charade of magic because he actually gave me the job. So I thought, I can't back out now. I better learn some more magic before he tells everyone in the business that I'm a magician.
So wait a second. You're going to a job interview that's not magic related at 15. In the States, that's not even legal. How are you working at 15? Is this like child labor? Like, what's going on with you?
Yes, it's like I think it's, or at least the law was when I was younger, that 3 months before you're 16 you can get a job. So it's whenever you
Gotcha.
get a national insurance, and it was part time, so I was still in school learning, and I was obviously taking exams, but it was like for a Saturday Sunday job. So it's just to earn some extra money, which then obviously I spent on Ellusionist.com.
Nice.
So it was kind of like a really vicious cycle. So yeah, that was it.
Cool. Very cool. And so you got the gig. Did you have to do more magic for the guys there once you got the job?
Um, Not really. I sort of stayed away from performing magic at work, mainly because there's, and a few people out there listening will probably realize this. As soon as somebody knows that you can do magic, that is your only thing. That is who you are. It defines you.
Yep. Yep.
So no one ever introduces anyone else as their hobby in the world. They don't say, "Oh, hi, this is my friend Tim. He's a footballer." They just go, "This is Tim." Whereas usually when I'd get introduced then at sort of that age and performing magic, they go, "Oh, this is Geraint the magician,"
Right.
or you've all heard it, and it makes my skin crawl when a layman introduces you as Magic Man.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So
Yep.
so yeah, I had enough of it in school. It sort of like propelled me to the most popular kid in school by being able to do Wayne Houchin's Sinful coin and coke can.
You hear that, kids? You buy illusionist.com products and you can be the coolest kid in school. It's that easy.
Yeah, well, so literally that's how it sort of happened, really. And then I learned Justin Miller's Silver Dream, and I used to sleeve people's dinner money. So they'd come across, they'd say, "Oh, can you show my friend that trick of you vanishing the coin?" And I'd say, "Okay, I need a £2," which in the UK is the most expensive coin. So here's a tip for all of you out there: it's the most expensive coin you can get, and you can make vanish. So use that.
Nice.
And I used to sleeve it, make it vanish, and they'd say, "Bring it back," and I'd say, "Sorry, I haven't learned that bit yet."
Nice.
And I mean, I regret it now, but I used to go home sort of £10 richer every day, so about $20 richer every day,
Nice.
and nobody cared. Like they were quite willing to spend £1 on a drink just to see the magic, or they were quite prepared to give me a £2 coin again and again and again for weeks or months, just to see it vanish 10 times in a row.
It's great.
So yeah, it sort of like consumed my school life. So I needed something else really, like in the downtime of work when there was no customers in the store on the weekends, which is where I started flourishing.
Okay.
I flourish with store cards, like gift cards,
Cool.
just to waste some time. And that's it, really. That's how I sort of got into it. And as anyone that gets into magic at a young age knows, it snowballs very quickly.
Oh yeah.
You absolutely want to consume everything you ever see on the internet, every video you see from that point, every David Blaine special, sort of your Christmas, birthday, and pocket money requests all fall into that.
Well, that's actually a great segue into my next question for you, is because it does snowball. You know, there's so much to learn, and that's what's great about it. There's so many different genres of magic. You know, you've got minimalism, you've got coin magic, you've got cardistry, like you mentioned. What is your favorite type of magic these days? You know, we all kind of go through these phases, but, you know, whether it's at the moment or just in general, what is your favorite type of magic? What do you like?
I mean, that's a sort of two-part question, really. It's kind of like, what do I like to perform, and then what do I like to create?
Okay, well, we can break that up then. Let's go for it.
So from a performance standpoint, I've always been in love with cards, mainly because I like, in my downtime, to sort of perform cardistry, which means that I'm relatively dexterous with a deck of cards. So picking up a new card trick or a new sleight. I mean, Lloyd Barnes, who's sort of also on Team E, I've known him for about 8 years, and he jokes that someone can show me something like a brand new sleight or a nail busting move, and I can nail it on the first go.
Oh,
so,
wow. That's cool.
So it's kind of like, for me, that's my passion. and you'll never get better reactions as an opening trick than 2-card Monty.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't do that trick yet, anyone out there listening, it's a question I get asked a lot: is how do you segue from approaching a table, from being a stranger to the magician?
Sure.
And it's really hard to approach a table. I learned this sort of over the years. If you approach a table and say, "Hi, I'm the magician. I've been hired by the bride and groom to perform for you today. Would you like to see some magic?" That's like a yes and no question that could result in them saying, "No, I don't want to see any." And many times I'd have people say no, and then I'd say, "Are you sure it's free?" And they go, "Okay then." Because they automatically think that you're there sort of trying to earn money,
Sure.
and that you've not been paid already. So 2-card Monty was the perfect opener, because the question wasn't, "Would you like to see some magic?" The question was, "How many of you gamble?" Which is a question that's it doesn't expect anything of them. It's just, how many of you gamble? Hands up. Some people say, "Oh, he does," and everyone has a laugh. It sort of brings down that barrier, and then it becomes a game rather than a trick. So the beauty of 2-card Monty, and that as a card trick, is that they think it's a gambling game right up until they turn the cards over.
Nice.
So that in their heads, there's no such thing as magic up until that point where they turn them over. You say, "Okay, turn those over." And then you can add whatever flair you want to. And they're so blown away by that point. They go, "Oh, and again, another one. And then they're begging you for it.
That's great.
So yeah, I've always found with card magic that although it's a stereotypical magician prop to carry around and to go up and pick a card, it's definitely the one that people respond to the most.
Well, and, that's a great tip too for the listeners. We don't want to just, talk about tricks sometimes. Sometimes it's the text, the context, the texture that you give to the trick that really makes the difference. And what you just said is a great tip. And that is to think about how you can present the tricks, maybe so it's not even seen as a trick. Gambling is a much more generic or a general thing, and I don't know about, especially here in Vegas, of course, but like I'm assuming in the UK, gambling it's legal everywhere over there, right? So
yeah, I mean, that's another thing is I think you should never frame magic as a trick. You should never say, "Do you want to see this trick?" Because then the expectation is for them to try and catch you out or to try and see the secret.
That's a good point.
That's sort of why I think David Blaine started initially walking around and saying, "Hey, can I show you something cool?"
Yeah, right on.
And it was like, "Yeah, show me something cool." And they're on board. They're on your side. They want to see that cool thing rather than, "Do you want to see a trick?" And then, "Oh, he's going to try and fool me with this." So in the UK audiences, some people have got a bad perception of magic. And I'm sure that happens anywhere in the world, where you say to somebody, especially if you're 15, 16, "Can I show you a trick?" And they go, "Nah, I don't like magic." And then you end up showing them something and they're begging for more by that point. Like their perception's totally different. So yeah, that's kind of like a little tip, is try and frame it in a way where you're either saying, "Do you want to see something cool?" or "Can I show you something?" Or Pete Turner's, like, I've been a friend of his for a while now, and he just starts telling you a story, which is weird, but it's also amazing because sort of 3 minutes in, you think you're chatting as friends, and then you're like halfway into a trick.
Nice.
So yeah, try and think of ways that you can frame your magic, especially if you're doing gigs. Try and frame your opener so that it's not a trick, so that you don't have to walk up awkwardly and say, "Hi, I'm the magician performing this evening. Would you like to see some magic?" Where they could say no, rather than, "Oh, hi, do you gamble?" Hands up who gambles. And they go, oh, he does. "Oh, well, let's try something." And you go straight in. You look more like a guest, like you're supposed to be there, like you're about to do something fun, like you're having fun. And I always perform as well, card magic especially. if you're at a gig, try and take a seat at the table as well. People mill around during drinks receptions. People leave the table to attend to children or to go to the buffet.
Mm-hmm.
Try and bring yourself down to that audience level as well, shoulder to shoulder with people. So yeah, that covers performing.
All right, and that wraps up part one of our two-part interview with Team E's very own Geraint Clarke. We will be back next week with part two of this very special interview where Geraint will go into more detail about his creative process and more specifically why he creates the type of magic that he does. We'll also be going into that one thing where you'll find out something about Geraint that you may or may not know, and this one is a good one. Well, if you'd like to keep up with us in the meantime or just subscribe to these episodes, you can find us over on iTunes now. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button over there. Look for Ellusionist Magic Beyond Belief podcast. And also, if you have any questions for us during the week in between these episodes, you can find us over on Twitter at Ellusionist. Same thing on Instagram. Don't forget to tag us in those pictures that you're posting. We do see them. And of course on Facebook, facebook.com/Ellusionist. Here's your host, Luke Dancy. If you'd like to get in touch with me specifically, ask any questions or have any suggestions, you can find me on Twitter at Luke Dancy, or you can drop us an email at podcast@Ellusionist.com. Well, guys, that wraps up this week's episode. Don't be shy. If you like the episode, share it with your friends. All right, we'll catch you next week for a brand new episode. But in the meantime, grab those cards and get to work.